February 18th.
Cayuga, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
As you see, we have. Yeah. You get that? We're good. All right, we have no appointments for tonight. But I would like to, before we get into the agenda, and we do have an executive session as listed here, I would like to just kind of state a couple things from my point of view. I did email you all last week about the Munis year-to-date budget reports that Grace just handed out to our Ways and Means members. These are the reports that are equal to the reports that were referenced that the city of Auburn gets. They are canned reports from our Munis software. And they are, as you can see, lengthy reports, but they are a start. Grace will send the PDF reports to the rest of the legislature. And once you look at them, if you would like a hard copy, Grace can make those copies, but unless you want them, I didn't think it was worth making the copies unless you request them. I believe we're going to likely need some assistance in interpreting them, but as I said, for the areas that have interest from our committee, you should find some of the information in here. As I said in my email, we also, I just found out, have the software we need to build custom reports. And we have the funds in our IT budget to cover the 4-day training that's needed for the staff and the IT people to know how to create those reports. Based on our IT director, that he believes that should be planned. We'd be able to get more customized reports and zero in on the areas that we're looking at. As we pursue this, and in addition to these reports, next month, we are still going to move forward with the budget reports from the larger departments. As the departments prepare for this, if they have any questions, concerns, information to put out, certainly ask Lynn for any assistance, and she'd be more than willing to help, she told me. I also want to discuss what I heard at the government ops meeting on steps we should take to further reduce our 25 spending. At the meeting, I heard our past chair say we should do the hard work to cut the budget and reduce our operational deficit. I want you, as you recall, in 25, the tentative budget was released. It did reduce the fund balance draw by $1 million, but it still left $6.6 million fund balance in our budget. The legislature did reduce fund balance use by another $1 million, but let's be realistic. Almost half of that came from cuts to Emerson Park. There were $491,000 of cuts to Emerson Park. Even with those cuts, it still leaves us with a $5.5 million draw. And as Ben reminded us, we don't have ARPA to bail us out this year, so there may be, in fact, more work to be done. We did establish a personnel committee this year to review bills and position changes. Certainly, it might slow the process down, but I do think it's been a worthwhile effort. There are other steps that we could take if there's support to take them from this Ways and Means Committee and the rest of the legislature. I can work with the budget director to bring proposals forward on possible ways to cut our budget. But before I ask her to do this detailed work, we need to understand what our tolerance is for impacting services. We can introduce a resolution that says no vacancies will be filled until the position has been off payroll for 60 or 90 days. The only way an exception can be made is if there is majority support of the legislature. The positions that have been the hardest to fill have already met that criteria, but a number of positions we have, in fact, don't. Is it, if it's not mandated in the area, should the answer be no, we won't fill it? Do we request that based on department size, a certain number of positions be reduced or eliminated? This way the pain is spread across all departments. But if we do that, no department should be off limits. I guess if doing the hard work to cut the budget was so easy, we would have done it by now. In addition to putting in place cost-cutting measures, I do think we should look at ways to increase revenue as well. We have resolutions tonight that address revenue increases. As popular or unpopular as they are, but to me, the first is the implementation of the vehicle use tax. And I want to address this to Mr. Petcher. There is no question our past county clerk was hoping to identify ways to increase revenue to see if there would be some consideration to allowing his DMV staff to stay through the end of the year. Realize this additional revenue and have a small portion go to his budget and the rest go to the fund balance. But when it was clear that any new revenue, even if we passed this, would not be received till 2026, the likelihood of that happening was just not being able to move forward. But when I heard there were 39 other counties and a number of surrounding counties that have this tax, why would we not consider it? This resolution, if it moves forward, is to set the public hearing only. Next month, after the hearing, we can vote it up, we could vote it down, we could postpone the vote. And to quote the county attorney, we could never take a vote at all. This only allows the public to be heard. The mortgage tax resolution on the agenda tonight allows the county to keep administrative costs that we're entitled to based on the work we perform for the city, the towns and villages. No different than when we asked our real property director to consider this when she brings that resolution back at the end of the year for the real property service chargebacks. And she's looking at that right now, and I want to thank her for that. As I said, it's my opinion, we didn't get here overnight. We can't reverse this fact, and we can't reverse the fact that we haven't raised taxes very much prior to this year. I agree we need to continue to explore ways to reduce spending, but it's somewhat difficult in this environment as we are expanding operations due to our building closure. As members of the Ways and Means Committee, I look forward to your recommendations as well. I look forward to see if you would support any of the ideas that I brought forward tonight, as well as any ideas you may have after review the budget reports that Grace gave you. So, and I'm sincere about that. We need to get on the same page if we're really going to move forward. Okay, so with that, I'm wondering if we could start with the Ways and Means resolutions. Then we'll go to Health and Human Services. Then we'll go to Planning and Public Works. And we'll take the executive session prior to Government Ops and Judicial and Public Safety. So if we could start with resolutions, or we can start with the Treasurer's report, Dave. If you you have a resolution tonight? No, if you don't mind, Dave, let's start with WM1 and have Rich go over this resolution.
Okay. So there's a developer, Agricola Wind LLC. They are proposing a wind turbine project in the towns of Venice and Scipio. It's considered a major wind project, which means the site evaluation and what you would typically do to get a zoning permit is handled at the state level. And so that application process is ongoing at the moment. Part of that process on the part of the municipalities is to require a road use agreement with a developer because of the massive amount of the trucks and the equipment that they're carrying. There's going to be several thousand loads of gravel and concrete to build the bases for the wind turbines and things of that nature. So the roads are going to need some upgrading. They're going to need maintenance, and all of those costs we want to put on the developer. And that's true for ourselves as well as the two towns. So there are county roads involved. There are, both town roads, of course. The purpose of the escrow agreement is for the developer to deposit monies in order to pay for whatever engineering needs we have to design the improvements, create the specs for the improvements to the roads, to analyze what and evaluate what the developer is proposing and things of that nature. So again, the purpose of this agreement is to basically have the developer absorb all of those costs. So nothing about this project is a cost to the county. Both towns have similar escrow agreements in place with the developer. They also have access to what's called intervenor funds, which is where the developer deposits money with the state to go towards municipalities' expenses as part of the application process. So that's what the purpose of the escrow agreement is. Also, we determined our selection for the highway engineers is Barton with Judas, and, that authorization is also included in the resolution, so we don't have to come back again.
Can I get a motion and a second, then we can open it up for questions?
I'll move it.
Nightingale second.
Okay, questions for Rich? Any? Go ahead.
I guess the expense of this is on the developer, correct? They're the ones that are putting the money, putting the funds into the escrow, and that's on the developer.
And then as we incur expenses, as we, the engineer provides services, they send us a bill, we pay it, we draw the money out of the escrow account.
Any other members? Mark?
Rich, I believe I heard you correctly saying that, there was gonna be some major, work have to be done on county roads. And developers are gonna fund that. I assume now, are they gonna use our county highway department to do the work and they're gonna pay us to do that? Or are we going to allow, a contractor to come in and work on our county roads?
Well, we're still working on that particular aspect. The current draft of the road use agreement would say that they do the work under our supervision. But we, if we want to do the work ourselves and send them a bill for our time and materials, we can do it that way as well.
There's been no decision made on that.
No, we're still in the process of negotiating the road use agreement. And it's a three-way agreement. In other words, it's the developer, the two towns, and ourselves. So we're all working together on all that.
And I asked Rich, we're in this because they're going to be, it's not like we're approving this project at all, but they're going to be impacting our roads.
Correct.
And that's where we come in terms of
Right.
making sure that we get covered.
Exactly. In other words, we don't have to allow them onto our roads without putting something in place to make sure that we're covered.
Quick question. Have we communicated with our highway department to find out what roads are involved or?
Yes, we have that information from the developer, and Highway's Brian's been involved in this whole process too.
Yeah, and that would make a difference with the funds, how many roads are impacted and
Yes.
that's the potential cost of that.
I can't off the top of my head tell you what the route is. They'll be coming in off of a state road, no doubt, before they county.
Thank you.
Mark again?
I've heard from one of the town highway superintendents. And I believe there also is some town roads that are gonna be involved.
Yes.
Not just county roads.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right, Mr. Treasurer, and you have two resolutions tonight? Okay.
No.
Well, the county treasurer to promote a real property clerk to principal is one of the resolutions on the agenda tonight. And the other is authorizing the legislature to sign with Vanguard Research and Title Services. Are those not yours?
Okay,
Okay.
I'm not, the first one, we didn't know was gonna be on there tonight. We haven't promoted anybody, I'm not sure on that.
This is the one that went to the personnel committee 2 months ago.
Oh, yes, okay.
And then basically they had to make sure there was a list and.
Yes. And then I went through, and that's fine.
Okay, are you prepared to talk about that or no?
That's just a standard thing for one of our people. When we hired them a year ago, they were on temporary, and we had to go through the process to see if there was anybody else out there for the position. If that's what you're talking about.
Well, you had a retirement of a principal account clerk and you filled it with a real property, I think, I don't know the
That,
title.
that goes back quite a while though. You were involved in that. I think that. goes
Yes,
back-
and now you're asking to fill that higher level position and abolish the real
We're not-
property clerk.
We're not filling, with anybody new.
No, you're just promoting someone from within
Correct. Just into that slot, the name.
and abolishing the position behind it.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay,
It's just you caught me off guard there. Okay.
yeah. Well, that's one of the resolutions. Can I get a motion and a second?
I'll move it.
This is to fill a principal account clerk in the treasurer's department. Apparently, it was put into the tentative budget, the upgrade. And if we fill this, then we will abolish
You're abolishing the other position.
on
Correct.
permanent, yes.
Correct.
I'll second WM5 for discussion.
Any questions? All in favor? Sorry, Dave, you're gonna do your last resolution, which is the contract with Vanguard Research and Title Services, Inc.
Correct. That's a standard, upping of the services that Vanguard provides for us for foreclosure services.
Yep.
And, we're just extending that another year that we've done for the last few years.
Okay,
No additional charges or anything. It's the same thing.
all right, can I get a motion?
Annual contracting?
I'll move it.
Well, it's an annual at this point because they started out with, I believe, a 3-year contract and then they've extended it every year, 1 year every year.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other questions about this? This is all in favor?
Aye.
I have one other item I wanted to chat with you about.
Sure.
Elaine, I sent you an email. We're in the process right now of a very difficult time in the state and with regards to short-term rentals that we've all heard about and we all know a little bit about.
Mhm.
And what I'm recommending is, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And Karen Cool over at the tourism office, Fred, Lynn Marinelli, myself, Melinda, my assistant, and possibly you, Elaine, I'd like to put together a presentation for this body for May. I would say April, but I think, Elaine, after chatting with you, you're filled up until
Yeah,
that time.
Yeah,
Decisions have to be made about opting in or opting out of this registration and some of the other issues associated with it by the end of the year. And so we've been going back and forth. I've been in contact with other counties. We're on Zoom calls with NISAC. We have Karen has a tourism meeting coming up on the 20th with her Finger Lakes people to get some more information. We'd like to collect as much as we could before we come in here and give the presentation, so it's not a piecemeal thing. Ultimately, what we're going to do is, as a group, make a recommendation to you as what we feel is the right thing. And then it would be up to you to vote for that or whichever you think is the right thing for the county.
so if we don't opt out, we're in? Is
Yes,
that how it works?
yes,
Uh-huh,
yes.
okay,
And that's part of the presentation. We're going to give you the pros and cons of each.
Okay.
And then let you all make the informed decision. But there's a lot of moving parts to it. And this involves, for if you don't know, in 1994, this body passed a resolution for tourism tax or a bed tax, or you may be familiar with that. So when people come through town and they stay at the hotel, they get charged a fee. That fee ultimately, throughout the county, this last year was around $1 million. And that's what is used to fund the tourism office for the county. In the last 5 years, a new phenomenon has kind of come up. Airbnbs and Vrbo, which I'm sure you've all heard of, are becoming more and more popular. And those are basically 30-day rentals or less are considered a short-term rental. And so we have to modify our local law to address these things. And that's what we're going to be talking to you about. But there's a lot of parts to it. And we want to get as much information from as many counties, from the state, and from our legal people as the appropriate way to go forward to help you make the best decision.
And you might know what other counties are doing by then too,
Correct.
even though you don't have to opt out till the end of the year.
Correct.
Is it?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
That's a significant part of what I'm doing right now is asking these counties, but keep in mind, each county has its own individual situation. For example, Wayne County doesn't do anything, they opt out of anything because they don't have much, they don't have a city per se, and they don't have any hotels that they're worried about. Whereas places like Lake George, it's their livelihood.
Right.
So most all counties have an individual need to do this in different ways. And ours is idiosyncratic to us here, and that's what we're going to be discussing.
Okay, thank you. Looking
Okay.
forward to it. Any other questions for Dave? Amanda, you don't have any resolutions? I'll get to you, Grace. You don't have any resolutions? Amanda O'Grady?
I don't have any
Right.
resolutions.
But if you wanted to, I think there was quite a bit of discussion about some of the resolutions this month.
Yeah, I can come up, do you want me
Yes,
to pick them up now?
Yep.
I'm just gonna come sit right down. My report's in there. It goes over pretty detailed information based on the procurement process related to security at 63 Genesee Street. So I know there was discussion on it at the previous meeting. What I did was utilize a New York State OGS contract. All towns, villages, counties, schools, they all use these. New York State does tons of different contracts that allow us to piggyback on there. Security is one of them. So it breaks it down. There's a how to use on every single one of the New York State contracts. That way you're following all the procurement rules. So we use that exact how to use process. There's a breakdown of all of the vendors, all the contractors that are approved within our region. Our region is number 7. There were 4 different companies that you could reach out to. You do have to reach out to all of them to request quotes. 2 were not interested. They don't have staffing or whatever their reason was. That's still considered a quote. A no quote is a quote. They're not interested. And then the 2 others were interested. They submitted their proposals. I recommended that we go with the cheaper option based on their experience as well. They have contracts with the SUNY Upstate and various state buildings. So they understand the work that's going to be taking place at 63 Genesee Street. They also tailor their training to be exactly what the agency is looking for. So if we requested specific de-escalation and things like that, they would tailor their training for the employees that would be working there. So that's just a little bit about the process that I took for that. It's also not a new cost, despite what the citizen had reported. This is something we already pay. We pay the sheriff's office for our security department, for our personnel there. In 2023, we spent $178,000. That's just for the security staff. So that doesn't go over, your oversight, your administrative fees. That's just for the security staff. 2024, we had our closure, so 3 of the months aren't accurate. But in 2024, we spent $177,000 on our security services for DSS. Each year, there's been a $1 increase to their wages there as well. 2025, we obviously knew we wouldn't be going back into the building. So there's that. The planned budget was $240,000. The $222,000 that this particular vendor, Allied University, Universal supplied us is under the budgeted amount.
So you're saying Lynn made a prediction of what we might spend for security on 63 and she picked 240,000.
Yeah, and that's based off of already spending around 16,000 a month on our current security services.
And when I was at the meeting, and maybe I misspoke, I thought there was real concern about the amount of money that we would be spending on this contract. So we had a conversation today, and I'm certainly not in law enforcement, and I'm sure there will be some, could we have two security? Because the building is 2 floors, not 7 stories. I mean, but, you know, again, I'm not the expert on that, but that would make the bill, 2 securities, $150,000.
Yeah, yep. So the 63 Genesee Street is 2.5 floors, if you will. There's a mezzanine that's about a half a floor. So it's 2.5 floors compared to our 7 floors. We also had more public facing departments at the county office building. This is going to eliminate that to just DSS and the treasurer's department downstairs. There's fobbing entry that's going to be throughout the building. There is panic buttons, just like at the county office building, that our security staff would have that go to 911 in the event of an emergency. But now we do have it based on 3 people. That proposal is based off 3 people. We did meet, that was the operations officer, the chair, the sheriff, our previous buildings and grounds, as well as Jen and Christine to go over what the department needs were. And it was determined to look for 3 people. So that's why the quote is based off of 3 people. If we knocked it down to 2, if that's what the choice was made and the departments were comfortable with it, it would bring it down to $150,000, which is under what we currently pay for our staff through the sheriff's department. So you would actually be saving money from previous budgeted years. That's a choice that you guys can obviously make. And then I would still recommend contracting with Allied Universal based on it being compliant with state and local procurement laws. It is a prevailing wage based on Article 9 labor law. So those rates, if there's a sticker shock there, there's, a reason for it. It is a prevailing wage rate. It also, that price is with their administrative costs as well, because their actual hourly rate is less than what we pay our hourly rate for our security staff.
It's a 1-year contract, renewable, Amanda?
Yeah, it would be renewable. Yep, I do a 1-year contract with 4 additional 1-year renewals.
This resolution table was really, I think the main reason why it got tabled was that we didn't have any information. And so I guess at this point in time, I thank you for bringing the information. And I don't know if the concern was the amount as much as just not being able to have any information available for the committee to make the decision.
Are there any other questions related to it? I mean, I was out of state, so I wasn't able to attend that meeting.
And when you say 1-year contract would take effect when the first day they provide security for us,
Yeah,
that's when it,
right, yeah.
year would
It
start at that time.
Right, yeah. It would start whenever we determine that to be.
So the 222 is an annual rate. We'll pay less than 25.
Yeah, you would pay less. That's based off of a full year. That's based off of 12 months.
Yep.
So,
If you want to break it down, divide it by 12 and multiply it for this year, however many months.
Right.
yeah. Yeah, it would still be under budget. And that's with paying our current security staff for the first 3 or 4 months, however many months we need to continue paying our current security staff for DSS, because we are paying them in 2025 around 15 to 16,000. It depends on each month, but
Currently, their security,
for DSS, yeah.
even though they don't have a building.
Well, they're working at the HPO, so
Oh,
there's security there.
Okay.
Unless that changed.
No, they're still across the street from the post office.
Yeah, yep, yeah. So, I mean, there's still a cost there. Are there any other questions about that specifically?
Mark has a question.
So I'm understanding that because this is under DSS, there could be a partial reimbursement by the state.
Yep.
Because it's under DSS.
Yeah, I don't know the exact specifics to that. Christine might be able to speak on what the reimbursement would look like.
Okay, my question was how much, but I'm assuming that like anything else, we have to pay the full shot up front, and then somewhere down the road, the state reimburses us. So really, we're paying the whole shot until we get reimbursed.
And Christine can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the local share is in the Department of Social Services budget. That's why it was kind of confusing when this became a public resolution, because it is a contract with the Department of Social Services. So they'll pay, and they'll book the revenue that they receive for it. So the local share of this contract is in the Department of Social Services budget, just like it was when they contracted with the Sheriff's Department.
I think they get their reimbursements each month,
Federal.
roughly, like based on
They
what
do.
they're submitting for
They do a
reimbursement.
monthly claim
Yeah,
and claim their administrative costs.
Now, does that go to DSS, or does that come back to the county? You know, money, I mean,
I mean, in the end, it all comes back to the county general fund, but it's in the DSS budget.
Because Grace, if it wasn't, it couldn't be claimed that way.
Correct.
Right. Okay, well, that's good information. When we get to that resolution, people would have a lot more information to make a decision on how to vote.
yep. Is there anything else that you guys saw in my report that you wanted to discuss or anything?
Is there any other questions for Amanda?
I do have a couple things under 63 Genesee Street for the cleaning. That should be a resolution. That's well under budget. It's over $20,000 under what was budgeted. That's a current contracted company that we currently utilize.
And it's less.
And it's prevailing wage.
Less because it's less space?
It's just based on the scope. I've been working with the vendors to go over the scope, and I worked with the departments and stuff like that. And, we're backing off on certain things. They're trying to get a more clear task schedule, which wasn't done in the past, which helps with your cost.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for Amanda? Thank you.
Okay.
Perhaps we could go to, Diane and just get your two resolutions out of the way. And anything you want to add to your report? Forty-three resolutions.
Okay, so WM3 is asking for authorization to fill an HR associate position within our department. We do have a upcoming retirement. She will physically be done in May, although because of being paid some vacation time and stuff, her last day will be in June. So we are hoping to promote someone in May into that position, and then would fill behind an HR assistant. So this would give us time to start recruiting now in the hopes that maybe attracting some students who would be graduating in May and would be interested in the position, and then would actually start them in June. So.
Can I get a motion for HR or WM3
No, you gotta move it.
in a second?
I'll second.
If she's on payroll till that point and you promote before she's off payroll, you'll have two people.
We'll have two HR associates for about a month so that they can finish training, and the idea that she would be taking over those responsibilities.
Okay,
So-
so it would almost be cross-training. She'd be paying two people at the same time for a short period of time.
For a short, yes, a little higher salary, even though we're not adding a position within the department
And you wouldn't add the backfill?
till June, when she's actually done.
Yeah, absolutely off payroll.
Correct.
As I was talking about, maybe not filling things till they're off payroll for 60 to 90 days. I'm like, tricky, Diane. And then you explained why you wanted to do it so early.
Right, because the idea is to hopefully, like I said, get the recruiting done now, why we would have hopefully some college students who would be looking for jobs that would be graduating in May in this area. And then also to do that training. But because of the person going in at a lower step into that, there will be some cost savings at the end of the year, and then additionally in the other position too, because they'll be coming in at a lower step.
Any questions for Diane? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. So. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over two.
Yes.
WM2 is to abolish the vacant positions with our control file. These are the positions that were designated by the budget that would be eliminated, causing the layoffs for the various people in the departments. We'd be looking at getting rid of the other positions that are vacant later on, but wanted to start primarily with these positions since this is taking effect on April 1st.
This is kind of a formality that.
Yes.
we need to take.
Yeah, we need to abolish the positions in order to be able to put anyone on a preferred list going forward.
We get a motion for WM2,
I'll move it.
second,
Yeah, second.
on favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And then the last one, WM4, is the authorization to provide stipend to specific county staff for additional hours worked outside of their department to support the Department of Social Services. This is in relationship to the work that the county attorney's office does, budget director, and the director of finance for the support that they provided during the calendar year of 2024.
Oh, can I get a motion in a second?
I'll move it for discussion.
Nightingale for discussion. Second.
The responsibility to evaluate this is kind of fallen to you, Diane, in terms of reviewing timesheets.
The timesheets normally are processed through the operations officer, so she would review time that comes in and then those are submitted through payroll. So what we did is we looked at the additional hours that were put in, anything that was over their balance of their 35 comp time hours that they could accrue up to. So anything at a time when they were maxed out was calculated and considered for the payment. So if they had less than 35 hours, but worked hours for helping, those weren't considered time to be paid out because those were adding into their balance to get them up to the 35 hours.
And, you know, I think it's simpler to look at the county attorney in terms of the DSS work versus the county attorney work. But the information that you have has to do, I'm asking, with work that was done on behalf of the Department of Social Services.
Yes, some of it is involved with training because of new staff that they had at the time. And then another for the director of fiscal management. Then when that position became vacated again, there was some assistance given in that role till it was filled later in the year in September. And then again, more training provided by the budget director. She also assisted with the department budget for the year. And then a lot of the director of finance work was done on the A400 reconciliation account.
This is
Needed to get done.
This is the big DSS claim that.
Yes. Yep.
Do you anticipate this opinion?
I'm sorry?
Do you anticipate this continuing in the same manner or?
Not to the well, obviously the county attorney's office will until we can hire some attorneys. No, we're looking at this becoming less. The person has been in the position now for approximately 6 months. So still she's learning well. They have promoted someone within the department to an accountant. So again, that person will be taking on some responsibility. So they have been able to add to their staff where they were short people before in that finance area. So again, the hours have been decreasing and we could consider that those will continue to go down as these people become more trained in the areas that they need to take over for these work.
Any other questions?
And this comes out of DSS budget.
Correct. Yep.
Also, money was transferred from the DSS .1 into these accounts.
Yes, that's in the resolution to transfer those funds.
I was just surprised to see that, as a legislator and what I've heard for almost 2 years now or more, is that our chief assistant county attorney, that our county attorneys are sort of working double overtime because we don't have any social service attorneys. And yet their stipend amount is less than that of the director of finance. So why is that?
The director of finance comp time has been maxed out. And so the attorney's office, they were able to take some time off to not accumulate as many hours. So
Okay. So they would
build those hours back,
but then take time off.
correct, and then build that back up again.
We have some sort of internal policy where we should be advising everybody across the board to do that? If they're comping hours like that sort of build to a stipend, we ask them to take time off?
I think some departments try to do that when they can, and obviously there are some that lose some of those hours that they're working. Additionally, they're not always able to take them off, but they're minimal in comparison to this type of work that's being done. Because it's for their own department, so someone might be at a later meeting. In my case, it may be working a Saturday for an exam.
Right.
And those hours aren't always able to be taken off. So.
So, Ms. Nightingale, just to add, that doesn't include any time that I have spent.
Right.
Over and above it is strictly for the chief assistant.
Yeah.
I'm not entitled to any extra stipend. I'm just entitled to a salary.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thanks, carried. Oh, Grace, I'm sorry. Would you like to come up and appreciate the bond information that you put on your report?
So you have my report in front of you. Just going to highlight a few things on here. Obviously, I try to highlight the sales tax that I send out. I'm not sure if everybody saw it, but as you can see, it did go down a little bit over last year, but we're still up 1.4%. I know Elaine asked the question via email, so everybody was on it that, how are we to budget? It's still really early to look at that. But obviously we are below budget, and that is because there was an increase in the sales tax budget. So that's just projecting if the rest of the month stayed exactly the same as last year. So hoping that doesn't happen. So the other thing I just wanted to mention is that we did start our fixed asset conversion project. That is going to be about a 3-month project. We're working with Tyler Technologies and the IT department. We had our first full day working meeting. There'll be several meetings every month for the next few months, as well as a lot of work that we have to do internally to get our fixed assets listing together out of our current system, updated, try to do as best of a physical inventory as we can. Obviously, we won't be able to do that with anything that's in the county office building. And then convert that to the Munis system, the financial system, which will be good. We will be, I know, talking with Tom Bunn. IT also wants to utilize Munis to track not just our capital assets, but any of our trackable assets, because there is a difference. Certain things are capitalized versus just a trackable asset that we want to keep track of, i.e. all the computers, where they are, the locations that they're in, and it'll be nice to have everything into our main financial system finally. So that is a big project that we are undertaking. We're looking forward to.
It's not a luxury. Your fixed asset is a requirement.
It's a requirement, yes. I mean, we don't depreciate things. Obviously, as a county, we purchase equipment, we expense it at the time of purchase, but there is a requirement through GASB and our financial reporting. So the auditors, it is a requirement that we have to have for our year-end financial reporting. Yep. And then the last thing I just wanted to touch upon is I did do an update on the long-term debt. I try to do that at least once a year so everybody can kind of see. And it's just a reminder of where we are. As you can see, the next fall off of one of our bonds is not till 2028. But this at least gives you a balance of what we have, and it shows you the payments that go out every year. Sure.
My memory might not be serving me right, but didn't we have a smaller one that just came off?
A smaller one came off, I believe, in 23. Yeah, so and it was about a $450,000 payment every year. Yeah.
Three?
Yeah, I think it was 23. I can let you know that for sure, but I think it was 23. Mhm.
And what was the amount then? The yearly?
That was, I know the principal payment was like 400 and something thousand. Yeah, like 440. So
maybe you'll get to this, but we have, if we were to ask you for the unaudited fund balance, because we won't get this Molesky thing until July or August.
Yep.
At some point, when you close the 24 books, and that's going to be soon, because there's still things, I guess.
yeah, we're still doing a lot of year-end entries. And I'm required to file, it's called the AFR, the annual fiscal update, or annual fiscal report with the state by the very end of April, first day of May. It switches. I honestly am not sure if it's the 28th or 29th this year, but there's a requirement that has to be done. When that's done, everything is done in Munis at that point. And then I run final trial balances for our auditors. And then that's when their audit begins. So the only thing we add at that point is any recommended entries that they may find that we should have done or.
But you would be able to give us an unaudited.
Yes.
Fund balance.
Yes, at that point, we could give an unaudited fund balance.
And how much of that fund balance we use
Yeah,
actually in year 2 or.
24, correct. Yep.
Okay. So maybe next month?
We're hoping, yes, we're hoping next month, yes. Hopefully we'll have everything done by the next, the next meeting, but.
Any other questions for Grace? All right, thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want me to speak?
Oh, Jen first.
You have my report, but I just did want to add, Elaine mentioned it briefly, but I have reviewed my staff's time and effort to review what we're charging towns for salary and benefits towards the services that our office provides to towns. I will be sending out a notice to towns hopefully tomorrow to review the changes in that calculation. And again, it is based on time and effort as well as a review of the law. And I subtracted out certain things that are supposed to be a charge of the county specifically. And I've also looked at how we prorate those costs. So in the past, it was just a straight based on the number of parcels in the town. I do have some assessors that they perform services that other assessors don't. For example, I have a handful that they will enter their own sales into RPS where we enter other town sales for them. I have one assessor that likes to prepare their own notices, so we're not doing that work for them. So I have also included in that promotion a discount for those towns that do some of the services themselves. So I will be sending that out to the towns, like I said, tomorrow, so they can see what that change will look like. Year over year, it's about a $74,000 increase. If you're looking just based on current year, the methodology, it's about a $61,000 increase in revenue.
From the 157 we took in last resolution.
Correct. So it would be more around 224,000.
And I think Jenny's gonna, feels strongly she needs to give notice to the towns and villages that you're recalculating this and that your intent is to do it annually.
Yes, I think that's appropriate to do.
Yeah. All right, thanks a lot. Any other questions for Jenny? All right, thank you. Okay, Heidi.
Madam Chair, HHS had 15 resolutions, all of which passed through committee. And I would like to present for a bundle. I'll say this slowly for you, Amanda. HH1.
I'd like that separated out if we could. I'd like to separate each one out if we could.
Okay. Then HH3. HH7, HH8, HH9, HH13, and HH14. All of these resolutions involve contracting with services that are ongoing and typical for the Department of Health and the Department of Social Services, the Youth Bureau, and the Office of Aging.
I'd like to move 3, 7, 8, 9, 13, and 14.
Second.
Any questions on those? All in favor?
Aye.
HH1, which is authorizing the chair and the public health director to enter into contracts with professional engineers for assistance with septic system and public water system approvals.
I'll move it.
A second for discussion.
Discussion?
I really welcome this one. I've had several complaints over the last 2 years. People wait an exorbitant amount of time to get their things approved so they could build their houses. I have a resident right now that they're gonna lose their lease. Their lease is running out. They won't have a house to move into. And they're being told they got another 6 months to wait. It happened to one of my own relatives, but I never said anything, brought it up. But what this does for the county is it hurts us tax-wise. If we can't get things done, that's property that isn't developed, that doesn't move on to the tax rolls as proper as it should. And by getting this kind of work done, I think it's very important. The other thing that we need to realize here is that we have probably just 2 employees in this whole county that deal with environmental issues. One in planning and one in the health department. And if you don't think the environment is important to Cayuga County with all of our lakes, somebody's mistaken. I'm very happy that I'm planning. There's the upgrade that should be there. But we need to get this kind of work done. And I really appreciate that this resolution is here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't dispute, the need for the program and what its intent is. However, I just think we had question on, the ask of the funding to come from the county for this. And I think that possibly the health director might have some more information to provide on that end.
We pay for these services? You mean?
Yes, and if she would like to.
Would you like me
Yeah.
to say something? I'll come here. So you don't have to twist your necks.
So since our last meeting, we had some further conversations with some individual engineers as well as some other counties that contract with companies. And we believe that a fair estimate that we should be able to get work done for no greater than $150 an hour for the work that needs to be accomplished. And we have pretty firm idea of how much time various types of work should take.
Can I ask a quick?
Yeah, sure.
How does that strain upon your budget? I mean, you had some allotted for this.
So we had money allotted, but in our professional services line, because we anticipate there'll be a little, potentially some learning time. We hope that we will be able to contract with people who already know the New York State and the Cayuga County regulatory aspect of things. It's approximately 6 months. So we are putting $30,000 toward it, but we are hopeful that we will not need to spend all that amount.
Great.
That's all I can say is hopeful.
Yep, no, I know.
And Ben's happy you're doing it. You got almost cried because you're losing your staff that was.
We're losing a lot of environmental health staff for the summertime, and it's temporary for some of it, and some of it's not temporary, and it's very concerning.
I just wanted to say that I thought Kathleen put together a thoughtful plan, given, and thankfully having some advance notice from your staff about, their absences, et cetera, during your busiest season for this kind of work.
And perhaps when she comes back, there could be a complement of this contract to help when the backlog happens.
I think that would be wonderful.
So the intent is to amend this resolution to include the contract in an amount of not to exceed $150 per hour.
Correct.
For the work.
Yes. Thank you.
I need a first and a second for that.
First. Move it.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Resolution as amended.
As amended. Did I have a motion for the resolution as
Move
amended?
it.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
I just like to.
Yep.
I just like to clarify, that we asked for a little more solid numbers.
Yep.
And I appreciate the fact that you provided those for us. And thank you for that. And with that, I
Makes you
guess
feel
puts my
more
mind at ease knowing what we're approving, more solid amount of what we're approving.
Yep. Totally. Great. Thank you, Kathleen. All right, Heidi?
Okay. I'd also like to bundle HH2, HH10, HH11, HH15. These are all fills within the Health Department, the Department of Social Services, and the Mental Health Department. These are all budgeted. One is an HHS is through the HELP program that still exists in New York State.
I'd like to move HH 10, 11, and 15.
Second.
Yep. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. HH5 is a budget modification in the public health budget to carry out a modification in the WIC program budget.
I'll move that.
Second.
Any questions?
It was well explained at the
All in
meeting.
favor?
Aye.
HH6 allows us to accept funds from New York State in the form of the Adoption and Legal Guardianship Incentive Payments Program, which will help us in recruitment, retention, et cetera, of kinship care kinds of adoptions and foster care support.
I'll move HH6 to accept those funds.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And then I'm going to bundle HH4 and HH12. These are vehicle purchases. One, HH4 is for a purchase of a vehicle in the health department. HH12 is for the purchase of 2 vehicles in the Department of Social Services.
Move it.
I'll second for discussion. Actually, I would like to make a motion to table these 2 resolutions. I provided information to everyone with a line listing of the county cars that we have. I think Jonathan started the conversation about getting an inventory of our county cars. Spoke to Brian Soper about if there was anyone in the highway department who could kind of assume the oversight of this. Brian went ahead and also took a look at the 2024 miles for all of these vehicles. And I think was under the impression that there were a number of vehicles that had pretty low miles, which could make us take a look at, do we need to have the current, I think it's 10 cars for health, 20 cars for DSS. I was unaware, I knew probation had cars. I wasn't aware the DA's office had cars. So it is a pretty comprehensive list. Brian said he was more than willing to go over this and come up with a recommendation that made sense, but he just couldn't do it this month. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So I think there will be no, in my opinion, no ill effects if not, if we don't do this resolution in this month. And I would make a motion to table both of those resolutions till we have more information.
I'll second.
Like, a second. I have just a question on the chart. I want to make sure that, I'm reading correctly. So, in the vertical columns, the current refers to the current mileage, not mileage per year. That's what we find in the 2024
I believe so.
column.
Yep,
You know, for instance, HD, the first,
because
the
42,000
first,
miles on it.
right, okay.
And 4,000 were put on in 24.
Okay, so that's how we can read this as we move forward with our consideration.
Yep.
Okay. We have some nice vehicles in stock here.
Great. And thank you. Any, all in favor of the table?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
The DSS cars, I know for sure, we get reimbursed on them
Yep.
and they can stay within that fleet probably for I don't know if it's maybe, I think it's 2 years, but maybe 3. But we can transfer those over to different departments after we have them for so long.
And
So
I think,
I think that, I mean, that one's kind of like a no-brainer. The other thing is, back in the day, our previous probation director wanted cars. And we got them, we took the ones from the sheriff department, moved them there. There was some of us that was against it because now we have more cars that we have to maintain insurance and everything else. So that was a choice that we made as a legislature. And I do appreciate that we're looking at the cars. I reviewed this a little bit, but I didn't see anything from the sheriff's department from the jail. Maybe I'm missing something, but I think if we're gonna look at vehicles, we should look at all of them, not just ones that we select. Other than that, I'll vote against the amendment, but that's fine. It's no big deal.
I think the Department of Social Services unfortunately has 8 caseworker vacancies right now. So putting this purchase off for a month or 2 or till next year, I don't know it. But I understand your point that it's 66% reimbursed. Okay, can I get a motion to who would table these?
There's already a motion.
It's already been motioned.
Sorry.
No vote, sorry.
Okay, sorry. All right, we're done.
Oh, yeah,
We just need an all
Gotta vote
all
on
in favor?
Table.
Aye.
Opposed.
Okay. Next on the agenda.
Don't be.
We'll do planning and public works and then we'll go into executive session.
I do have a question to go back to, I just, for my own clarity. Tabling of HH4 and HH12 to the next Ways and Means? Or to the next committee meeting? Did we make a decision on where we're tabling it to?
We'll have to bring it off the table when it comes back on. I don't know
Okay.
when there would be an idea that you might be able to look at this.
I can't tell you about it. I think I have to talk to all the department heads. I'm not gonna make those decisions without talking to them.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody told me how many excavators I need, I'd be a little upset.
I think.
Not let you borrow one.
I think when I said something to Kathleen about the cars being tabled, I said we're looking at utilization and she goes, oh. So, I don't.
It's
know
gonna
if
take
you
some
were
time.
that
I just don't
surprised.
think it's a quick decision that you can just.
I think it's good to look at all the vehicles. Yes, you should have a plan for the county.
And if by next month, it's going to be a decision we have to put off, then we can relook at the highest reimbursed vehicles. Decide if we're gonna move them or not.
That satisfies me.
Yep.
I just want to know, where it was being tabled to. So if it's indefinitely, that makes sense.
Planning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning has 4 resolutions. I'd like to entertain a motion to bundle 3. All 3 have been through committee. PL1 is a create bill for the principal environmental planner position and abolish the associate planner position in the Department of Planning. PO 2 is authorizing an application to the EFC Program for Wastewater Engineering Planning Grant. And PL 3, authorizing the replacement of lighting at the Emerson Park Pavilion.
I'll move PL 1, 2, and 3.
Move it.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. PL 4 was put on today. And I'd like to have Harry just give us a little heads up as to what this entails, or
Team Doug.
Doug, PL 4, is that Doug, PL 4? Sorry.
I mean, I can, but it's.
Throw mine on the bus.
No problem. The Northern Border Regional Commission Catalyst Program, we got some permission at a previous meeting to apply initially to that program. That program would be able to supplant a significant amount of funding for the replacement of the bridge here at Emerson Park, which is about a $2 million project. That deadline for application will come up in the middle of April. Therefore, we talked at the last committee meeting, and Elaine graciously allowed us to walk this resolution on here. So we've already preliminarily applied to it to let them know that we do want to apply to it. And so this would be permission if we are allowed to go forward in the process to apply immediately to that grant to fund a significant portion of the bridge.
Thank you. Refreshers. Motion?
Motion? I'll move it. No second?
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, that.
Yeah.
Public Works has 11 resolutions. I'd like to bundle PDW 1, 2, 3, and 4. These have all been through committee. Those as a bundle.
I'll move.
Yeah, move it.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. PW 5 is what we kind of talked about earlier. It was tabled to bring to Ways and Means tonight. And authorize the chair of the Cayuga County Legislature to sign a contract with Allied Universal to provide security services for 63 Genesee Street. I think with information we had tonight, the committee has enough information to move this resolution and decide.
Nightingale, move it.
I'll second it.
I guess my only question is whether it would be prudent or ill-advised to begin the contract with 2 security instead of 3. Anyone can weigh in if.
While I'd love to save money by just automatically saying 2, what I heard Amanda say is there was a committee that met that included experts, experts around this, the sheriff, operations director, other folks. And I in no way would say, that I know.
Take their recommendations.
Exactly. I respect and our department heads and appreciate the fact that they bring together expertise and expert information to us, and it'd be great to save money, but I also think it's prudent to listen to our department heads.
Just a comment would, if this is going to be brand new, I would shy away from reducing before you even get started. There's going to be a learning curve, and with these contracted services, a lot of times you can change from 3 to 2 if you see that things are going very smoothly and you don't need that. But also you got to also remember that labor is an issue, and there might be days that you only have 2 anyhow.
I was just curious, do we have anything that says this is what these folks are going to do or required to do, or what they can and can't do, I guess? Is there anything in writing in that aspect as of yet?
I have a full proposal, which really goes over a bunch of criteria of what they do, And we provided a scope of services based on that meeting of what we wanted them to do and additional things that the sheriff had asked me to request of, what kind of training they already have in place. And then this company, I'm looking to schedule a meeting with all of us to go over the training criteria that we would like, because they also customize it. But I can certainly send you the proposal, that's no problem at all. And we also opted for a level 2, which has a higher experience level. So, and has a little bit more of offerings than the basic level 1.
I appreciate that.
So I can provide all that information too.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions for PW 5? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No?
Wait, is anyone opposed?
Those
Those 2, okay, thank you.
Okay, PW6, authorize the chair of the legislature to sign a contract with Clean Tech Services to provide cleaning for 63 Genesee Street. This has been through,
I'll move it.
Mango second.
Questions? I'm gonna cover that. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Okay. I'd like to bundle PW 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 7 is to extend the lease agreement for 2 State Street. 8 is to authorize the legislature to award material bids. 9 is to extend some of those bids that were already bid. And 10 is to increase the revenue from the state snow to an increased salt expenditure. And then 11 is to enter into an agreement with towns to mow the county roads. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
I'll move those.
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brett.
Official.
Now, oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah, there's one more thing I'd like to say before you go into executive session regarding the comments I made earlier on the short-term rentals.
Yep.
I don't think I accurately conveyed to you the confusion amongst the people out in the community. People are starting Airbnbs every day and short-term rentals every day, and they're not aware of how to handle these things. The state hasn't done a very good job, and our local laws aren't being put out there enough for people to understand. This weekend, I was accosted by people verbally for blaming me for creating these taxes and sending enforcement letters to people on all this stuff because they don't understand what's going on. And I think when we make these decisions in May, when we lay this out and make the decisions, I think it's really important that we communicate this to the public, using the newspaper and any other means available so that everybody knows what's going on. I'm getting calls from attorneys and I'm getting calls from residents screaming and yelling at me for creating these taxes that I didn't have anything to do with. And I think it's really important that we do that. Thank you.
Thanks for carrying the target, Dave.
I gave you your number. I gave you your number.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session for collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law and financial or employment history of particular persons.
Second.
All right,
You'd like Colin and the attorneys to come in as well?
And Diane,
yes, it would,
thank you.
except that he can.
So you're gonna do both, right there. One, and then do
Yeah.
the one on financial employment
Yep.
history of a particular person.
Yes.
Okay. Second.
Great. 6:39.
6:39.
6:39. Okay, now we're going to go forward with the, rest of the agenda. Yep, we'll start with government operations. Oh.
You're up.
So, yes, GO1 is to authorize the county clerk to retain necessary expenses, mortgage tax.
Thank you, I'll move it.
Can I get a motion for, GO1?
Thank you, I'll move it.
Second.
All right, and can we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Great. GO2 is fixing the day and notice of a public hearing on a local law providing for salary increase for certain county officials.
GO2 is,
That's Board of Election.
thank you, Board of Elections.
I'd like to make a motion to, pull this resolution.
I'll second.
Any questions about pulling this resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next resolution is to, fixing the day and notice of the public hearing on a local law or 25 establishing the motor vehicle tax pursuant to New York state law. I'll entertain a motion for GO3.
Nightingale, move it.
Any second? I'll second it for discussion.
Well, this is, as if I can talk,
Yes, please.
this, resolution allows us to fix the day and time for a public hearing to allow the public to be heard. It is, at this point, not for us to decide that we are moving forward or not. Fixing or establishing, a motor vehicle tax.
Correct. Can I get a, first and second, all in favor of this?
And the discussion first.
Oh, sure.
I guess in light of legislator Nightingale's comment of it's, for the public to be heard, and I fully encourage the public's input. And I guess for that reason, I will be supporting this and voting it on, but if we were to vote on this right now, as a legislature, I would not support voting on this. I've been reached from companies within my district that I don't think were really considered with this, the effect that it has on commercial trucking companies, large scale. And I know it was made a comment, one of the legislators last meeting, this was really not a big deal to, a one car, one vehicle family. Given consideration to businesses out there, and one business reach out to me in particular, they have the ability to, I guess, take the business to a different county. So that would be more that we would be losing and more lost revenue from that aspect of it instead of just gaining what we're going to do here. And, the idea of it itself, in the end, I would not support it, but to give the public their say, I will support that.
I could be wrong, but if you register a vehicle in a different county that has that tax, they will collect that tax and bring it forward here. So you can't get out of it.
But they can change, they have the ability to change their address to a different county, and they would be basically out of Cayuga County.
Okay.
Not just simply going to a different county to do the registration of the vehicles.
Mark?
I obviously don't have a vote for tonight at this committee, but when I do get the vote, it's a full legislature. I will not support this, and for basically the same reasons that legislator Winslow brought up, is that, I have a couple of large trucking companies in my district, and, we're not talking, couple of cars sitting in the driveway of a homeowner. We're talking, 100 trucks at one place, another 75 at another, 25 or 30 vehicles at a different, thing. And you start talking about, these are heavy vehicles. Now you're talking about a considerable amount of money per year. I just be very clear of that. I mean, obviously the public has the right to be heard, but I will not support it at a full rush.
Yep, just for clarification. If the legislature does not back a local law, we certainly don't need to go through having the public decide on what to do. And have a say in something that we're not
Have majority support.
generally going to support or think about supporting. I mean, I'm just saying, I understand what this is because it would require a change in local law and it was brought to us as an idea. However, like if there's no intention to go with it, it's disingenuous to say, let's round people up to come in and be heard when we're not going to support it at the end. I'm just saying that, as people, we've done this before and the ledge has voted no to the local hearing because we're not going to have, it's not going through forward with this legislation.
And I do think though, I would support it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on the
I think
committee,
we support it.
I'm just saying,
Eldro would support it.
as
I
an
mean,
educational insight, that you don't always have to just force on a public hearing if you have no intention of supporting legislation.
So let's take the vote again. Do we want to move this forward to the public hearing?
We didn't vote yet.
We didn't vote.
Oh, I thought,
No.
excuse
So
me.
we're just in
We
discussion.
just discussed.
Discussion.
You have a motion and a second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of moving it to the public hearing? Aye. Passes.
Opposed though? Better you opposed, okay.
3-2.
Let's see, government ops for fixing the day and notice of a public hearing for providing a salary increase for certain county
Move it.
officials. Second,
Second,
do we need to discuss what we're planning to put in this public hearing?
I don't know. Do it. What, a number or we just,
There are numbers in the
In the resolution, we've got,
question is whether.
the resolution read out.
No, we'll be amending that.
you can put any number in there, because we can always change it.
We can always change it.
We're just looking for public comment.
Yep. Would like to move that forward. We have first and second. We do. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think that's all for Geo, and now we get to judicial.
all right, thank you, Madam Chair. Judicial has a total of 11 resolutions. And there was also one resolution that was tabled from 225, it was resolution 225-JP-6. We'll start off with that tabled resolution. I'd like to pull that at this time. So that will be pulled.
Okay,
And with that, I would like to offer up as a bundle, start with JP1, JP2, JP3, and JP6. Those as bundles. They're all this contract for the chairperson of the legislature and the department heads to sign.
That was the bundle.
Nightingale, second.
any questions?
What ones are they again?
They are 1, 2, 3, and 6.
So in favor?
Aye. Moving on, like also bundle JP4 and JP5. They're both in relation to accepting the grant money funds.
I'll move it.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And JP7, JP7, authorizing the disbursement of planned annual appropriations to the Cayuga County Schools for after prom events for academic year 2024-2025 from the Stop DWI program budget.
Move it.
Nightingale, second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd also like to bundle JP8, JP9, and JP10 to fill 3 separate positions within the Emergency Management Office.
Move it.
I'll second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, JP11, authorizing the chairperson of the county legislature and the Cayuga County Emergency Services Director to accept the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services fiscal year 2024-25 hazardous materials emergency preparedness grant.
I'll move it.
I'll second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And that is all for GPS. Thank you, Chair.
Very much. There's no other business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move it.
Yeah.